Good morning and afternoon. It's Wednesday, 9 a.m. Pacific. Welcome all to the Sharing Show. I'm Kane, and today I'm joined with David, better known as the Workday Sharing Guy, Keith, Logan, Teresa, and special guests.
Thank you, Kane. What is the most important thing about the Zoom chat?
Thanks, Logan. As always, most important thing is we want everyone to share and interact on the show today. So when you use the chat feature, make sure you select all panelists and attendees so that everybody sees your question and everybody sees the replies. So without further ado, I shall pass this over and we will get started.
Sounds great. Thanks, Kane. So just to test that everyone has that default set, if you are live on any Workday Extend app, put in the chat Y for yes, C for considering, P for purchased, or N for no, not considering it. Make sure you change your default to all panelists and attendees before you enter your answer so that we know you got it set up correctly. Thanks.
And for those who are watching very closely, we're giving away an Apple Watch for the winner of the quiz at the end. So you definitely want to open up your phone or your computer to kahoot.it. It's not kahoot.com. We apologize for not having the slide to show it. kahoot.it. And this one is practice. This will help you if you're doing Kahoot for the first time. You'll see how to do it for the Apple Watch quiz that comes at the end. We'll wait just another minute as people are joining. We've got over 50. Oh, that was very...
99.
Okay, I'm going to repeat it. Oh, it's in the chat. Good. So 2335099. So they get smart fans in the group. That's 2335099. All right, Kane, this is the biggest Kahoot we've ever had. Over 70 people. There are no right answers here. It's a survey. So what is your involvement with Workday Extend? Right, so same thing we had asked in the chat. That was just to make sure the chat was working. Are you currently live? That's red. Blue is currently working on your first apps, nothing live yet. Yellow, currently considering purchasing. Green is you're not involved yet. Maybe you don't even know what Workday Extend is. Wow, okay. Welcome to Workday Extend. Okay, the next question, again, no right answer. How many airings of the Sharing Show have you seen? Well, I guess there is a right answer for everyone, but it's all different. Is this your first airing of the Sharing Show? Have you seen 2 to 5, 6 to 20, or have you seen over 20 episodes? We have had, this is our 31st episode, by the way. And this could be watching on YouTube channel, not necessarily live. Okay, it looks like a fair amount have done 2 to 5 and 6 to 20. Very few of us have done over 20. Okay, there is only one right answer here, even though it says multiple select. What was Workday Extend previously called? Okay, this is similar to what will happen in the quiz. There's only one right answer. Workday Extensions, Workday Developer Platform, Workday Cloud Platform, Workday Cloud Expand. Before it was called Workday Extend, what was it called? Okay, a lot of people know this. This is good. Workday Cloud Platform. And you will see here that whoever got the answer first got more points. So there is a podium. There's nothing won here, but congratulations to those who got the right answer and who did it quickly.
Now we'd like to welcome Keith from Florida. Keith.
Hey everybody, this is Keith, and we're so super excited about everybody joining to learn more about Workday Extend. I've known David for a while, and one of my favorite things about being a part of the Workday ecosystem is to be a part of the share-a-thons and the sharing shows, and just love the way customers love to learn from each other and share what's going on and what their experiences are. And so you can see a bit of my experience there. And one of the things we wanted to highlight is that I've been working with Prism since it was as a design partner and throughout the process. And we're going to do a sharing show in July about Prism. And so would love to have your questions and things like that at that point as well. So great to be a part of the show today.
All right. And Keith, I want to thank you for being the co-host here.
Fantastic. So as you know, we have themes for our sharing shows. We have Workday Extend, Dashboard, Prism, and more. If you would like to offer to host or suggest a theme, request and ask or share, you can go on the sharingshow.com and contact us. We have Prism coming up, financials, recruiting, so lots of exciting things.
And what's next on the agenda?
Up next on our agenda, some work from Keith.
One of the things as we were preparing for this, we wanted to talk about various questions, and we had asked for questions earlier and had gotten a list of them. And so some of the things we're going to cover today is what is Workday Extend? We'll talk about that in a little bit. Suggestions on how do I get started? We'll cover that. How much does it cost? This we're not going to get into a whole lot. You need to talk to Workday about that as far as buying the module and those type things. What are some of the common use cases? We have several that we're going to talk through, and some of the other people will be sharing those as well. While some of the other people are doing shares, we'd love to have you ask questions in the chat, and we'll answer the ones we're able to. And you'll be able to check back later on the website to be able to see answers to other questions that we don't get to today. So in terms of what is Workday Extend, you see the quote here from the blog. 2017 Workday Cloud Platform was actually announced. And so and then as of May, it is generally available. And several of us that are on the call have been working with Workday Cloud Platform now Extend for 2 years, and we're super excited that it's generally available now. So a lot of people are wondering, okay, what exactly does it look like? How do you build an Extend app? And I'm not going to get into this a lot of detail, but this is Workday Extend is somewhat comparable to Studio in the sense that you're building apps, or you're building the code outside of Workday, and then you're importing them, you're publishing them into either an impl tenant or a production tenant. So if you look at this grid and you start at the left and work your way across, it talks about the App Hub. So the App Hub is where a lot of the tools are related to this, and sample code and various other things. And a lot of that prep work is happening there. And then once you reach a certain point where it says the app pipeline here, you're actually going to publish that. You're going to upload that into either an impl tenant or a production tenant. So that's just kind of a high level of kind of where does Workday Extend work happen. As far as how do you get started, they've recently made some additions to the community. And if you go on the main page and you click on integrations, then you'll see an icon for Workday Extend, and which this URL will take you there as well. And so what you'll see there is kind of the top news with the getting started and various other things. So those are great places to start that Workday is continuing to build out as more and more stuff gets released. Another option is that we recently created a post in community called Workday Extend Library, and we have a list of people that have already commented, and as you come up with additional things, we'd love to have you comment on that post. I also posted just a list of links here, just lots of different blogs, as well as several Workday Rising sessions from last year that give you a good overview, as well as give you more examples of cloud platform apps that are live that you can check out. And we're also going to have more information on the sharing show after the show, that you'll be able to go to the content and themes and go to the Extend section to see links there as well. So we're giving you lots of options.
Thank you so much, Keith. What's next on the agenda?
Up next, we have Juliana from Florida, and she has some share and ask. Welcome, Juliana.
Hi, everyone. Like you said, I'm Juliana from Florida. My share is that as an Extend customer, you get an additional 100 custom fields per extendable business object for a total of 200 custom fields per extendable business object. And then for my ask, I'd like to know from an end user perspective, how do you initiate an Extend app? And also, is it possible to incorporate an Extend app into a standard Workday business process?
This is Keith again, and I'll go ahead and respond to the first one of those questions, which is how do you initiate a Workday Extend app? You're going to create a custom task, and once you create that custom task, you'll be able to type it in the search bar, and it's going to show up as a custom task, so you'll see it there. Once you've created that custom task, then you can add it to the related actions off of various parts in Workday, such as in this case, you're seeing two custom apps, a maintain biographical as well as a maintain dependent additional data. You can also see that once you have that task created, you can also create a quick link for that task and put it on dashboards and other places as well. And then once you click on those, it's going to open the app and you'll go from there. As for the second one, as to whether you can initiate it from a business process, that's not something I've tried to do yet. And so we'd love to have others of you that have been in and also done apps, if any of you have done that. Love to have you put a chat out about that so that you can, what recommendations you have. So thanks, Juliana.
Thanks, everyone. What's next on the agenda?
Well, up next on the agenda, we have Betty from Texas with some Workday Extend app. Welcome, Betty.
Thank you very much, and thank you for having me on the sharing show this morning. I'm going to go through 3 examples today, and hopefully this will spark some creativity for other individuals on how they may leverage Workday Extend in their organization. The first example that I'm going to walk you through is an application that we refer to as Transfer System. And our situation was we were making a transition from PeopleSoft, and we had Transfer System as a custom application within PeopleSoft, and we were implementing Workday, and so we needed to move away from that and find a new home for it. And this is something that's very specific to our manufacturing environment, and its purpose is to allow employees to be able to request a transfer from one production-oriented position to another. So they may go from the stamping area, for example, to working within plastics. And so it's essentially a rotation. So when you think about that from a process perspective, what that looks like is first a team member is able to log into Workday and they see a worklet that says Transfer System. And from there, it will actually take them to a home page of Transfer System Home, which is what we see in the upper left-hand corner. And from here, they can either select what they want for transfer or make an update to something they maybe have previously submitted. Once they click on this, it actually transitions over to the snippet on the right-hand side, which is a system acknowledgement. For this, they're acknowledging what is appropriate that they need to use for personal protective equipment or PPE, so recognizing what the role would contain. And then the second piece of this is the employee actually has to acknowledge that if they are selected for a posting that they posted for, that they do have to go ahead and take that position. So there isn't really, unlike traditional recruiting, there isn't really a offer that goes out and somebody thinks about it. They actually automatically see that position. And the big piece behind that is from a process perspective, it's kind of a daisy chain effect where by moving one person, then you have to move another person, and there's a lot of coordination and training that goes into those moves. And so need people to commit that if they are opting for this, they are going to make that move. Once they acknowledge this, they are actually able to see the postings that are available, and they can check box the ones that they are interested in. And from there, they can submit it. Once they submit it, they actually are asked to rank from 1 to however many they have selected, and to really give what their preference is. And then at the point in which they submit it, they will actually receive a confirmation with a confirmation number indicating that they have submitted this in the event they ever need to go back to it. And then from a back-end perspective, what that looks like is HR posts these in batches. And so once the posting time period has ended, they'll pull that down, and they're able to assess based upon seniority who and some other criteria who's going to get each of these positions. And so there's some automation that has come into play, which is one of the great things about this being nested right within our HR application, because the data information around seniority is readily available.
Okay, so tell us about the second example you had.
So the second example came up in a different way. So we weren't replacing anything. In this case, we had a net new process that was coming into place because we had some new software downstream from us. The purpose, or what we were looking to solve for, is we had a new access management system responsible for setting up security roles and access to different applications for team members in the organization. And our goal is to make sure that people have the right access in order to be able to do their job. And we want to make sure that they have access on day one. So when you have that new hire coming in the door, that they are able to jump in and to do their role as soon as they are able. And the same thing as somebody transitions into a new position, we want them to be able to do their job effectively. And this is, for us, is very critical in some of the areas where there's very high volume, such as in call center. You're going to see that there are a lot of customer service reps, collections reps, et cetera, where their roles are very specific to what they need to do and what access. From a process perspective, what we did is that we embedded this, and I know that question came up earlier on, hey, can you connect this somehow into a business process? And we did connect this into two different business processes as an integration. But what we did is that after a hire process is completed, or a change job process with very specific criteria occurs, a manager receives a notification. And the notification will have a URL in it. And the manager will follow that URL to a page. And once it's back up, you'll be able to see what this page looks like. And in the interim, I will describe what it looks like. So the manager will receive this page, and it's essentially asking them to pick a role. And it goes specifically for these roles that somebody would need from an access perspective. So the example that I give, you will see that the team member is in a customer service cost center. They're in a customer service representative job profile, and then the access roles that are provided go into specific customer service representative roles, such as English, email, resolution. And so these are very particular security-oriented roles that somebody needs for doing their particular process as a customer service representative. And so the manager will select the particular role needed. They will submit it. And then behind the scenes, after they have submitted via an integration, that particular role is passed downstream to the access management system. One of the unique things that we have set up for this, when that manager gets to that page, as I noted, there was very specific customer service-oriented roles. We don't actually maintain the table of roles by job profile and cost center specifically within Workday. We actually call upon a web service to pull that information in so that it can be maintained by our security team and be updated as needed. And then it helps for us to ensure some really strong data integrity.
All right,
So
Betty,
David,
I think we're back.
Transitioning back to transfer systems, the upper left-hand corner, you see the transfer system home. This is kind of the bigger display. This is where somebody opts in to make those selections. From there, you can transition the slide. They get that acknowledgement. So we have some links in here to some additional information. There's an acknowledgement. This is then the system. The option is for the top piece is they actually select the different postings that they're interested in with some checkboxes. From there, once they submit it, they are asked to actually go back and rank those. Once they submit that, they get a confirmation with a unique confirmation number as well.
Okay, and then this was your second example.
This is an example of what the manager will see. Once they'll receive a notification, they go into the application following the URL, and this is where they will just do a checkbox by the role that's particular for them. So it could be email, English, resolution, and then as I was saying at the very end of this piece is that what we see populated here for examples is calling on a web service to pull that forward, and that is based upon the cost center and the job profile connected to this transaction, which would either be a hire transaction or some particular change job transactions.
And that brings us to your third example.
Our third example is a survey that we refer to as Know Your Talent survey. And this was actually a replacement of a Survey Monkey survey. And what our talent development team was finding is that they were having to pull a lot of information out of Workday and having to collect photos in order to orchestrate the survey to happen happen as a part of SurveyMonkey, and then it made it challenging from an analytics perspective. And so we explored leveraging questionnaires or surveys within the kind of the native functionality within Workday, but found it on a few fronts, and one of the big ones was how do we incorporate a photo, because we felt like that was a key element to being able to ask the questions as a part of the survey. And so the purpose of the survey for our talent development area is really to get a better understanding of, is this person's work known, and kind of the desirability to work with this individual. And if they're finding that maybe those things don't go in place, then what things do we need to put in place to better help that individual from a growth perspective? Once initiated, there's kind of an integration that runs and pushes this out to the selected managers for completing this. The manager receives the notification. They follow the URL to this survey, and the survey, contains a photo. Typically would include a name, if it's been erased out, a title, and then also the manager's name. And then it also indicates, do you know the person's work, yes or no? And then if you were starting a new team today and this person possessed the required skills, would you want this person on your team? And then again, you indicate a yes or no. And then they go ahead and submit it, and then on the back end, HR is able to pull reports and do the appropriate analysis for this and be able to move forward with it.
Thank you, Betty.
Next, we are going to have David from California. David, go ahead.
This is David from California, also known as David the Sharing Guy. I created something around 3 years ago when Workday Extend was initially announced as Workday Cloud Platform. So it's called My Name, My Voice, and the very quick elevator pitch is in Workday you could see what somebody looks like, you could see how they spell their name, but you don't know how to pronounce their name. How often have you gone into a meeting, you see someone's email, but you don't know how to say their name? So very quickly, it's mynamemyvoice.com, and what it does is it ties somebody's saying their name to their email. That's it. Put your work email in there. You get up to 4 seconds, and you record your name, and it ties that 4 seconds of your audio to your work email, which makes for lots of very interesting integrations into Workday with or without Cloud Platform. So anyway, this is available now. It has been for years. I haven't really been pushing it because Cloud Platform wasn't GA, and now it is as Workday Extend. So if you know my email, you could put it in. If you know Logan's email, you could put that in. It's displayed here. Or if you put in your own email, of course, if you haven't done it yet, it'll say, okay, go ahead and record. So with Workday Extend, what this means is just like you can edit a photo or delete a photo, or if you allow your workers to do that, if you allow them, they would record their name, and then other people would be able to click to hear the name. So that's it. Interesting approaches that come from this. So my share really is not one where I'm going to say that here's how to do this. Instead, I've come up with an idea. It seems like it's quite helpful for a lot of people, especially those with international workers that they get on phone calls with. So it seems quite useful. So here are interesting things. Are you going to require approval? Do you require approval for photos? Do you let workers upload a photo of their cat? Well, maybe you would require approvals. Maybe you would auto-generate a default, just like the photo auto-generates, just like a silhouette of someone. You could auto-generate a computer saying somebody's name. Um, Now, the interesting thing is if you do this, workers then have the opportunity to overwrite the auto-generated one. Um, so then you could auto-approve by then doing audio to text to make sure people are just saying their name and not saying some funny thing. I'm just going to use cat, for example. My cat says my name is something, right? So the audio to text, it would not pass approval. Okay, so that's my share.
Thanks so much, David. Now, what's next on the agenda?
Up next, we have Jacob from California. Welcome, Jacob.
Hey, thanks for having me. One of the things that I wanted to do as my share was just talk about designing Workday Extend applications. I get a lot of questions about, I see all these pretty apps, but I don't really know what the first step is to get started. Or even more importantly, I'm not a developer and I don't really know how I design an application because there's so many pieces and components out there. First thing I typically tell people to do is to download this Presentation Services Dictionary app. You see it right here. Really, the idea of this is it includes all of the possible widgets that are available for a Workday Extend application. And then what I can do is I can tell the end user or whoever's interested in building out this app that I want them to go on and kind of build out with a pen and a paper what they want every single page to look like. And what they can do is they can look at each of these components and say, I really want one of my pages to have a bubble chart. So let's put a bubble chart here. Maybe they want a grid on one of their pages. So this is what the grid should look like. Let's copy this component, etc. Maybe I need tabs. So what do tabs look like? But really kind of the idea of this is to, before you even get started, just having a simple diagramming of every single page and what widgets will be added on that page is really the first step to starting.
Yeah, Jacob, I just went back to make sure people saw, right? So there's lots of options, right? So you just showed 3 of the options, right?
There's a ton of options out there. I think it's just important to take a look at all of these widgets first before you start designing the pages so you know what your limitations are and what you can and can't include. Once you've designed the pages, the next step really is to talk about process flow. So for me, I like to draw out all the pages on a set of note cards, and then I can arrange the note cards in a specific order. You want to think about, hey, is it a simple workflow of, note card 1, note card 2, note card 3, or is there a logic gate? If I click one button, should that route me to page 2? If I click this button, should that route me to page 3? If you can draw this out on some simple diagramming tool, you're going to immensely make the development of the application so much simpler, and you're going to have a better understanding of all the components that are be required. The second piece of this is for each of those pages, you want to think about the associated roles. So for page 2, maybe I need a specific role. I have to be a manager or above. And for page 3, I need to be an HR administrator or above, etc. It's just an idea of kind of mapping each one of those pages to an associated role. The last, and I think the most important piece when designing a Workday application is to think about syntax. So this seems like a small thing, but it really isn't. Because the UI components are so limited at this point, what really brings the application to life is the language that you use, the style icons that you use, and the action words that you use. So Workday just released this Workday Canvas style guide where you can read through and you can get an understanding of how Workday is written and what tones is used across the platform. Additionally, it includes things like applet icons, so some images that you can add to your app to kind of enrich the experience and kind of cover some of the white space. And lastly, it has some task naming guidelines just to kind of put the right words for each of your tasks. So it mirrors all the other custom tasks and all the other searchable tasks in the system. And then the last thing, I think Keith hit on this point already, but really around, once you've designed this application and once you've kind of set out all the steps that are required, you want to think a little bit about the access point. So how do I actually get into the application? There's really 3 ways to do this: a custom dashboard or a quick link, a profile group, or a custom task. If you're using a custom dashboard, I really typically do this when there's only a limited time that this application will be available, and I want to push this application to a subset of users that maybe don't use Workday quite as heavily. I can make sure I can take that really important real estate on their homepage and then pull it away once the period is over. If I'm using a profile group, as you see here, it's typically something I do if I want to add a chart or I want to just supplement some existing data on the worker. I don't typically like to use edit pages on a profile group because it just doesn't seem natural. It's just more of a way to supplement some of the existing information. And then the last piece here is kind of custom tasks via related action or search. This is what I typically do for Workday super users. So say you run a custom report and you want to then from that custom report trigger a VPS application or a Workday Extend application, this is a great use case. Or you want to search in the global search for, say, nominate worker. This is another really great use case just because your Workday power users are more akin to it. And then kind of just to close this all up, I just put just a list of some of the applications I've seen and helped build. There's really two flavors out there right now. There's this VPS application and external applications. VPS applications or visual presentation service applications. It's a Workday defined language for building applications within Workday. It's a presentation layer. I like to kind of compare it almost to HTML that allows you to call web services and show a custom layer within Workday. The other flavor is an external application. So Workday just released on GitHub something called Workday Canvas Kit, which I'll add to the chat, which is a custom React library that allows you to have like the work and the feel of the look and feel of Workday, but outside of Workday. So you could host this on AWS or an external server and make it look just like Workday. Within the VPS application sphere, I've built and helped build award and feedback applications that allow for the nomination of workers for awards within a specific time period or quarterly basis. I've seen telecommute approval applications where workers submit telecommute days for approval, go through an approval chain, and flag alerts based on calendar out-of-office dates, etc. I've done organization assignment applications that allow matrix managers to be nominated and selected and select who their team members are going to be and then route through an approval BP. And then I've seen ServiceNow applications where you simply provide a front end within Workday for ServiceNow and then are able to make requests directly on the back end onto ServiceNow. On the external application sides, I've built bot applications on top of Slack. So I know that there's a delivered Slack integration out there now, but there are the abilities for you to do some custom integrations by simply leveraging the Workday APIs that are available as part of Workday Extend. And then I've seen contingent worker applications to manage your entire contingent workforce outside of Workday, but referencing back into Workday for some additional details. So I know we're moving pretty quickly here at the end, but if you have any questions on any of the things I talked about, feel free to add them to the chat.
Thank you so much, Jacob. That was really great information. Now we would actually like to thank our co-sponsors. Our first co-sponsor is Utmost. Utmost is the all-in-one system for Workday users to manage their extended workforce. That means you can request, onboard, engage, and pay contingent workers all through Utmost. Plus, Utmost integrates seamlessly with Workday, so you don't have to worry about duplicate data entry or inaccuracy between systems. And you can see a live demo of Utmost on Wednesday, June 24th. Save your spot using the link that you see here at the bottom of your slide, and we will also put that in the chat. And thank you to David, the sharing guy. Thank you so much, David.
And we'd like to thank Dovetail. Dovetail has been there for us all along. Dovetail provides HR service delivery software that reduces the number of questions into HR by over 50%. Dovetail also provides emergency response management software that provides HR with the tools to manage all coronavirus-related questions from employees. Dovetail is tracking COVID-19 case volumes from HR teams globally. And if you want to learn more, you can visit dovetailsoftware.com. Kane, did you have anything you wanted to add, updates that Dovetail is working on for us?
Thanks, Logan. Yeah, one thing I'd be really interested to hear on chat is we've got some interest in a lot of companies that want to do daily symptom checking with their employees and workforce. Some states are actually mandating it. Some are saying it's recommended. Some are saying it's optional. And so we're thinking of adding a symptom check feature into our tool that will allow you to sort of make employees feel safe that everyone's going through this daily symptom checker for common COVID symptoms, and then act as a follow-up and maybe even provide some contact tracing capabilities as well. So if any of that sounds of interest, it'd be good to know, get some feedback in the chat if your organization is doing something like that today or looking at those sorts of things. Thank you, Logan.
I do want to go back to something you mentioned from the co-sponsor Utmost. The demo that they do is once a month, turns out to be right after the sharing show in 2 weeks. So there's the sharing show, and then you would go straight to the Utmost demo. Kane, we are ready to do this quiz Kahoot. We have over 100 participants still with us who maybe are waiting for this moment. Now, after we do this quiz Kahoot, there's still more sharing. Kane, let's go with the quiz. Let's see who wins the Apple Watch. Here's the pin.
Here we go.
Thank you, Kane. 36, 73, 46. Okay, 367346. Now, I myself, all the time I'm given 6 digits that I have to look at and then somehow repeat on my phone or somewhere else. So I always do it double digits at a time, unless it's my birthday on there or something. So 36, 73, 46. And out of over 100 people still with us, we have over 60 on the Kahoot. I think to be fair, let's give them another minute to join. You won't be able to win the Apple Watch unless you're on for the very first question. Okay, last chance, 36, 73, 46. Okay, Kane, it looks like you're ready. First question, there is only one right answer. One right answer. What did the co-host Keith share in season 2, episode 1? Did he share Workday Assistant? Did he share Prism Analytics? Did he share Workday Studio? Did he share pictures from the Orlando Rising, which Keith was a great help for that fantastic pre-Rising share-a-thon? All right, 10 people got the answer right. That was a picture of somebody assisting somebody else. He did Workday Assistant in season 2, episode 1. Okay, Jenny, you're ahead, 8 points ahead of Anna, who is a little bit ahead of Keith, who's a little bit ahead of Anthony. You got the right answer. What happens here on the second question before? 5 guesses on the Workday Stock Challenge were given to you if you joined which team. If you joined the Sharing Show team, if you joined the Share-a-thon team, if you joined the Movember team, or if you joined the Rising team. So those who were in Orlando were well aware of this Workday $200.01 stock challenge. And if you joined the Movember team, Workday alumni, customers, and friends, you were given 5 guesses. Now, by the way, all of these things were covered in season 2, episode 1. If you were on the LinkedIn group, you got the clues to rewatch that. Anna, Anthony, you're very close, so not too far behind. 3 questions out of 4. What day did David guess on the Workday Stock Challenge? Okay, was it January 31st? Was it February 14th? Was it April 1st? Or was it July 4th? What did I guess for the Workday Stock Challenge? It also was mentioned in season 2, episode 1. What was my guess? A very special day for a Workday executive who has his birthday. So congrats to those who got that right. February 14th was my guess. I was not all that far off. Somebody else did guess the exact day, though. Anthony got way up above. Cal, Marilyn, Anna, and Bridget, all in the top 5. One final question. Here we go. What was the name of Workday 3? That was in 2007. Was it Workday 3? Was it WD3? Was it 2007 R3? Was it Rome? All right, we're about to see who is on top. Okay, 22 people got this right. I gave a second clue that ninjas know that all black is what you wear, and it was in the previous airing where I was wearing a Rome shirt. There's a reason why Rome is the 3rd, and that's in the earlier episodes. Okay, the moment we've all been waiting for. Let's see. Winner of the Apple Watch. Marilyn, congratulations. 17 nanoseconds ahead of Anthony. Wow. Okay, and then CS not too far behind. Congrats, Marilyn. Oh my gosh. That was very close. Marilyn, I gotta follow up with you. We have an inside joke that maybe we'll share on a future show. Okay, we are back.
So what's next on the agenda?
We're not sure if we were going to get here in time, but Keith, you do have time before what we had told people, for 1 hour, right? So, Keith, why don't you take it from here?
Okay, so this is going to be another example of an app that we have live in production. Thank you so much for hanging out this long. So in our environment, we have a monthly financial report that a large group of staff have to fill in, and this used to be in a legacy SharePoint system. And after they fill it in, the finance staff have to review that form, and they have to approve it or reject it. And if it's rejected, we need to notify the staff that they need to come back and update that form. So here is the initial page after they launch, after they click the link, they get this page, and the first box up here is just showing that you can add help text and have links out to other text. And then down below we have, if they've had financial reports in the past, they do this on a monthly basis, so they would see the ones in the past, and then the ones that they're creating that would either be pending or incomplete would be in that top box. And then they're going to click the create new MFR form that takes them to the next screen. And you've got things up above that is the instructions. And then you start to fill in these different fields. And we're going to zoom in kind of on the section 1 here. And the second question here, it defaults to no. And then you only see this additional comments. If they change it to yes, the page is dynamic, and it will bring up the section 2 and section 3 and additional questions. And then based upon how they fill in these, we have it, then they've completed filling in this form, and it's going to bring you to these 2 different boxes. The one they're always going to get, which is going to be a pop-up that just says you successfully submitted it. And the second one is a conditional one that says, oh, you didn't do all the things that were, not all the check boxes were checked, which means you're not eligible for this thing called SIF. And so just the point that you can have all this conditional logic in there to flow through depending on how they fill this in. So now we go back to the main screen, and you'll see that this new one is in a pending status. So where's this data stored? Earlier, Juliana mentioned the 100 custom fields. So right now, this data is stored in custom fields on a custom organization. And so here you can see these 2 rows, one of them being approved and completed, and the other one is in a pending status. So we could have built another cloud platform screen or Workday Extend screen for the finance person, but the finance people are in these custom objects all the time, and so we didn't bother to go to that step. But they would normally just click the edit button and then go edit the pending one and put comments in here and either say that it's approved or it's rejected, and they would put comments in this as to why it was rejected. Then we also have a Workday alert run that runs scheduled to run every day, and then for anybody that's rejected, they're going to get an alert saying that they need to come back and update that, and then it'll go through the process again where the finance person will go in and approve that.
Keith, before we wrap up this show, because we're at the end, I want to bring this up because this is quite powerful, and you went through it pretty quickly. And Jacob showed all the different screens you can see, all the different widgets. He showed a few of them, but this is interesting. This slide here, you're showing that there's a section 1, and then there's a question there where if they keep it as no, this is what they'll see. They add comments, right? Is this right? But then when they change it to yes, the screen changes, which we're all used to seeing this in Workday sometimes. Depending on what you answer, the screen will change. But now you were in control of this. Is this right? You decided what went into section 2.
Yeah, that's all based upon the logic that you build in the app. It's all part of your flow process. The other thing is, if they say a no there and hit submit, you actually get a different pop-up box that says you don't actually have to fill this form in. And I didn't do a screenshot of that, but this has been a huge help for our finance team because the legacy app didn't do that. And so we had a lot of people that would fill this form in that really didn't need to. And so by adding that additional validation in, it actually has saved our finance team a lot of work.
Keith, I'm going to give you opportunity here for any last words before we wrap up, because this is a fantastic show. We had more people on this show than any of the previous, even more than the recruiting show. A lot of customers, if you remember from the first Kahoot, mentioned that they have not even started looking yet at Workday Extend. Last words of wisdom, given you've been using it for years.
I think the key thing is when you implement Workday, you focus on implementing core functionality. And then once you're done with that, you realize there's all these other things that are in other systems that you wish you could get into Workday. And in the past, there was no way to do that. Now with Workday Extend, you do have the ability to put so much more into Workday so that it can be truly an enterprise solution for your organization. So we encourage you to consider it.
All right. That's awesome, Keith. Thank you for co-hosting.
Yeah,
Kane,
my
we're ready
pleasure.
to wrap up.
Yes, thank you, Keith, and thank you, David. And special thanks to Logan, Teresa, and all of our panelists and guests on the show today. So as always, we publish our recording on YouTube, and you'll be able to head over there and actually see this recording along with all the other videos that we've posted as well. Please make sure you head over and like and subscribe, and then you'll get notified when those new videos are posted and that new content is up. It's been a fantastic show because it's been one of our longest and one of our most populated shows as well. There's been lots of guests, lots of attendees, so it's been a real gem today. So I don't think there's anything else less to say other than have a great Workday.